Welcome to episode 2 of Comic Book Confidential, the brand new comic book podcast that's here to bust open the case files of what's going on past, present, and future in comics, give you our ideas, our opinions, and just have an all-around general conversation that we invite you to be part of about the comic book industry, funny books in particular, and everything connected. I am your host for this week, Matt, and alongside me is...
Hi, I'm Jay.
The legend, Mr. Jay Castro. You can see no Corbin this week. He's busy being Corbin, taking care of business in the most Corbin way possible. I think we got a good show for you guys this week. Disclaimer, I have told Jay to not tell me what the news stories are so you can get my initial gut reaction when he describes them to me. So we're going to bust open those case files, talk a little bit about breaking news stories, a little bit about the comics we're reading from last week, what we liked, and then we're talking about a little bit about what we're looking forward to on the upcoming new comic book day for 9/18/24. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Jay, and let's get this bad boy started.
All right. So, these news articles, I'll comb through comic book sites and entertainment sites, and when stuff kind of grabs me. Yeah, it tickles my, whatever. Anyway, and I like using them not only just because the article might be interesting or whatever, but I kind of want to just use it as a conversation starter also. And that's this first one. So on Bleeding Cool, they reported that DC got its Batman legacy numbers mixed up. Have you heard this?
I saw the headline today. I did not have time to read into it though, so I'm intrigued to hear what's going on.
Well, it's basically just that. It's basically that they start and stop series, and they put in crossovers, and they screwed up the lake, and I knew it. It's like they do that with a lot of Marvel comics. You see the I don't know what it is, the volume, the current issue, like 1, 2, or 3, and then in smaller
like volume
print,
5 or yeah.
Then you have the big, like it's actually like Amazing Spider-Man number 797, but the little number, the big number says like 12.
Yeah, or it's like volumes, ASM Spider-Man number 1 volume 6. Right. So because it's a different, it's a reboot but a continuation. And it doesn't surprise me that they've got it wrong. Like,
me either at all.
Like you said, all the reboots, all the restarts, all the crossovers, all the tie-ins, all the annuals, all this, all that, and it doesn't surprise me that their legacy numbering's wrong.
Yeah.
By any means. We're coming up on 1,000 issues of Spider-Man soon. Like,
right.
What I question the numbering on that sometimes, It wasn't until recently they started doing that legacy numbering.
Yes.
Because they had so many reboots and so many crises on Infinite Earths and so many New 52s and Rebirth and Absolute Power and, we're rebooting this character. Okay, we made it to 14 issues under this writer, so we're going to reboot and give it to this team, and it's going to start a new number 1. And because nothing sells comics like a new number 1.
Yes.
Am I right?
Right.
So... It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm not shocked by it. But really, numbering, does legacy number really matter?
See, that's what I was going to ask. What would you do if, like, next month Marvel's like, you know what, we're going to stop with the legacy, and then we're going to just do 4, 6, 8, or 12 issue miniseries. So they're going to have number 1s. All the time.
Continue on with my collecting like I am today.
Yeah.
Because the numbering doesn't really matter. The only thing that numbering gives you is the significant identifier for events that happen in that book, right? Because everyone's like, oh, I want the first Punisher, ASM 129. or I want the death of Gwen Stacy, ASM 121. You know, it's like it just gives you the reference point for events for Kingpin. You know, ASM, was it 51 or 50, somewhere along those lines. Anyways,
Yeah.
to my point, it gives you just the references of events or first appearance characters. So really, the numbering doesn't matter if it's still like, oh, I'm gonna get ASM 1. You know, if you walk in a comic book shop, you're gonna be like, if you're like, I want ASM number 1, they're gonna be like, okay,
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, right. So if you're like, I want ASM volume 6 number 1, they're like, oh, here you go. You know, and so, and you might not even know what book you're looking when you're like ASM number 1. You might want volume 5 number 1, or if you're collecting. So I see where legacy numbers have a purpose, but for me it doesn't matter, because it's just like you can go volume 6 number 1 or whatever, or even when you still look it up, like if you go to any of these sites like Key Collector, or I'm trying to think of the other one that I use, Cover Price, you're still looking it up by Amazing Spider-Man number 1, but you look by the year it started. So
right,
you want the current ASM Spider-Man number 1, you look at 2023, or you know, ASM number 1 2023, or whatever it is. So the legacy numbering, I guess, is good for long-term collectors, and I don't know, they have their place for both, in my opinion, but it wouldn't, if they dropped legacy numbering, it wouldn't change my collecting habits in the least bit.
Yeah, and I mean, even like just treating story arcs as like, you know, almost like a novel. You know how they have like all those Star Wars novels, you know, or whatever, you know, just have, you know, Batman, City of Bane, and that would be, you know, City of Bane issues 1 through 12 or 1 through 8. Then, you know, written by Tom King and drawn by whoever, and then, you know, the next volume will be somebody else written and drawn, you know, whatever. It's like, I don't know, man. I almost think that may be better in a way.
It's a money grab. It's all a way for them to be like, Amazing Spider-Man issue 1000, and slap a $9.99 price point on an already $4.99 book. You know, so or oversized 1000th issue, or oversized 800th issue, or whatever. It's just a way to draw money and pull more money out of you. We're going to give you 50,000 covers and all, you know, 1 in 25 ratio incentives, store exclusives, 1 in 100s, 1 in 200s, 1 in 500s. Bye.
Yeah. The milestone issues are huge sellers also. So yeah, I wouldn't care either. I wouldn't mind just, you know, having each story arc be its own little thing, and next, you know, off we go. But
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
my only thing with 12-issue miniseries is a lot of these writers, Donny Cates, Jonathan Hickman, Chris Claremont, a lot of these writers can't stick the landing on a story in 8 to 12 issues. So
you shorten them 4, 6.
Well, even then, I feel like the shorter the worse, because they can't flush everything out. It feels rushed and overpacked, and, you know, more holes than Swiss cheese. But other than that, like, I could take or leave legacy numbering, but I'm not surprised that they get it mixed up, and, you know, it's not shocking to me.
Yeah, I remember.
It's gonna piss people off that are like, oh, I have the 1000th issue of like Detective Comics, and you come back and actually that's not the 1000th issue, so you don't have that.
Yeah,
or, you know, some big character reveal in the 999th issue of, you know, Green Lantern, and it's like, actually that's not the right one. That's not the 999th issue, sorry. But
yeah, it's, you know, it seems to be a really polarizing topic in fandom, because some people like, no, like longtime collectors want that legacy number on there, but I don't know.
It's fine. I mean, keep it, but at the end of the day, like it's they just most recently started doing these legacy numbering, and I mean it's fine. Keep it. It's not hurting anybody or discouraging anybody. It just, to me, it wouldn't make a difference. To me, it's not shocking, and it wouldn't make a difference if they're like, we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah. I even got, I remember, I won't say the comic book store I got it from, but I got like a Jason Aaron Thor run, and it had one of the, like, an issue from a different Thor run that like a different arc that he did, slipped in there. And I'm sitting there reading them, and all of a sudden I get to like issue like 8 or 9. I'm like, this isn't at all the same.
Yeah.
So like even people like that, they just like they throw the wrong things in there. So what's your opinion on that new Penguin series on HBO Max? Colin Farrell.
I'm not sold on it. We just had this in Gotham like a few years ago. Like we saw the rise of Penguin in Gotham, and what different is Colin Farrell going to do? I mean, I guess it's his portrayal of the character, but it's going to be kind of the same story where you're seeing him come up from nothingness to be the crime boss that he becomes. It's more about, I think, the world Matt Reeves is trying to build.
Yeah.
And Gotham itself, and you're not going to have Batman in it. So I think you're going to have a lot of people checked out because really, do you care about the Penguin?
I do not.
Yeah. So it's
at all.
I feel like it's a good way to keep the fan intrigued in this universe because by the time the next Batman comes out in 2020, is it 2026?
Probably
2025, probably 2026. By the time the next Batman comes out in 2026, you're what? You are 5 years removed from the first one, because the first one came out 2021 or 2022?
I want to say 2021, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, well, so the new one's supposed to come out in 2026.
Yeah, okay, so it came out. The Batman came out in 2022.
Okay. So
4 years. You're 4 years removed from the first one. So I guess it's a good way to keep you in this universe. And it's also a good way to judge and if people even still care about this universe. I think right now everyone's so high and wanting to know what James Gunn's going to do. Right. It's going to be a good gauge on, do people even still care about this universe? Is this universe something that people are going to come back to? Yeah. And I think that the Penguin could be a good driving factor about that. And I don't know. It just kind of depends on how it's done. Like if they make Gotham the character it's supposed to be, because any good Batman fan will tell you that Gotham is a character.
Right.
Not, the Gotham, the city itself is a major character and not just the people and villains in it. So I guess it's all the way just to see kind of what Gotham is in. And it's going to tell you the story of, I think it picks up right after the events of the Batman. So you're going to see how Gotham kind of is recovering or how they're handling the events of the Batman. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I will check it out. I will probably watch an episode. But I'm not like singing the praises, like screaming to the moon for it. And it's one of those things that I think could be really good or become really boring and lose people really quickly.
I'm guessing the latter. And so I guess the big difference between this and Gotham, that Colin Farrell describes this as really dark, really heavy, and incredibly violent. But
let's see if that's the case, then I'm here for it. But that tells me, though, like they're already setting you up for it to be not great because it feels like they're hiding behind these big buzzwords like dark, gritty, violent. You know, they're hiding behind these big buzzwords, and you're not really getting like the true plot of it. It's the rise of Oswald Cobblepot as, you know, we see Gotham recover from the events of the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm not screaming to the moon for it, but I'll watch it. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm pretty much the same. I'll probably watch the first episode, but you know, it's not something that I am looking forward to. It's Penguin's supposed to be in the next Batman. So I don't know if some of the events or whatever happens in this show is going to have any kind of, run off into this next movie, but whatever. But anyway, so apparently Colin Farrell was kind of being real pissy about being in that Batman costume. I guess he moaned and groaned. He pretty much says that there's probably not going to be a season 2 because it was just too hard.
Oh, being in the penguin costume?
Yeah, and just
but yet he's coming back for the movie.
Yeah,
know? I don't think there's going to be a season 2 because, like I said, I think it literally is just there to bridge the gap between the events of the first Batman and what they've got planned in the Batman 2. And
sure,
Matt Reeves already said we're going to keep it grounded. We're not going to go mystical with this. So you're not going to see all these crazy characters like, Onomatopoeia or Calendar Man or, who else? Killer Croc, or they're going to be more grounded villains. So they're not going to be the mystical and over the top that is what us Batman fans have come to expect. So
I think sooner or later someone should do a mystical Batman story.
Well, the closest thing you got is the Schumacher stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, even one with the the Lazarus Pits and Talia al Ghul and all that lore. Even have what's his name, Damian Wayne in there, and it's like, man, that would be really cool.
Well, I think you're gonna get a lot of that in the James Gunn stuff, especially like the Batman, the Brave and the Bold, and they're already talking about bringing Damian Wayne into that. I think you're gonna get more of that stuff in James Gunn's universe, to where Matt Reeves is very much going the Christopher Nolan route of, we want a grounded, realistic, gritty Batman.
But sometimes it's so gritty, it's not realistic.
Well, or it's boring, or we get caught in having the same villains over and over again. Like, will we really need Joker versus Batman again in a movie? I mean, it sells tickets. Joker sells tickets. I mean, let's not get that twisted. But I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't really need to see another Penguin series. I don't really need to see about this villain again. Give me someone new. Give me a Mr. Freeze. Give me, anybody else. Clayface.
Yeah.
I don't need to give me more Scarecrow. Give me,
I'd even like to see Deathstroke. I mean, we almost saw Deathstroke.
Give me Court of Owls. Court of Owls is the perfect Batman villain that we haven't really seen yet, other than in Gotham. And so I want to see a little bit more freshness there as far as like the villain they're using. Hush.
Oh yeah,
Hush. So
yeah, man, I agree. Or yeah. There's so many. There's so many. Batman has got so much in his rogues gallery. It's insane. But you're right. They just tend to recycle the same old ones because that's what sell tickets, and that's what kind of fits into that grounded narrative that everybody wants to do. But man, I'm telling you, like, sometimes I was watching that Matt Reeves Batman last week, and I'm looking at that scene. I'm like, dude, that doesn't even look. That almost seems so. It almost looks like Blade, like the Blade Runner universe or something. It's just so dark and seedy and wet, and I'm like, dude, come on. It's like dial it back down a little bit, So yeah, so apparently season 2 of the Penguin up in the air, but does anybody really care?
We'll have to see how season 1 does.
It's not going to knock my socks off, dude. I freaking guarantee you that.
I hope it does. I hope we're both wrong.
Yeah, I do. That's one of the things I love about stuff is when I have come in there with low expectations and I just get, knocked through my back wall,
Yeah.
But so I know you're not like a huge Star Wars fan, but did you see the Acolyte?
I saw the Acolyte.
Okay. So I'm sure because you're a very savvy man, pop culture savvy man, but so there's this like cult, that culture war that's been going on or back and forth about woke and bigots and dude bros and racism but so I was looking at this article on Cosmic Book News, and apparently Amanda Stenberg, basically she's saying that she's blaming YouTubers over the Acolyte cancellation. So
in what context?
So she goes on to say that she says the Acolyte cancellation was not a huge shock for me, and she blamed alt-right and conservative fans. She says, for those who aren't aware, there have been a rampage of vitriol that we have faced since the show was even announced. When it was still just a concept that no one had ever seen it, she said she continued by pointing the blame at those she believes were behind the negative reaction. And she and I quote, a rampage of, I would say, hyper-conservative bigotry and vitriol, prejudice, hatred, and hateful language. And then she adds, I just want to see those people I just want to let those people know out there who supported us in the way and supported us vocally despite in the face of all the vitriol. Okay, can we say vitriol anymore? We see the kind of blah blah blah. Anyway, so yeah, she blames conservative Trump America for the cancellation of this horrible show.
Here's the thing. It's easy to do that. It's easy to point fingers at other people than ourselves, right? The internet is a lovely place most of the time, but the thing the internet did is it gives everybody a voice. It gave a voice to the voiceless. So everybody with an internet connection and a microphone or a phone or a Twitter account or Facebook or social media of any kind, TikTok, is going to voice their opinion. Sadly, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, and most of them stink. But there's only so much deflecting you can do when it really comes down to poor writing. Don't blame. Look inward. Look at your acting. Don't blame alt-right this or conservative left that. That's the easy way out.
Right.
Take it for what it is. All right. If it's poor writing, if it's poor character management, if the director and showrunner of your show come out and go, haha, we don't really even know anything about Star Wars. We were told not to check out the core material. We were just told, here's what we got. Go give us a show.
Yeah. Give us a fresh new take.
Yes. You were giving people what they wanted. They wanted to get away from the Skywalker stuff. They wanted to go Old Republic. There's so many people that were clamoring for Darth Revan to come in and all this stuff. So many things that people wanted to do. All right. And the Acolyte suffered from piss poor writing, piss poor editing, and piss poor acting. And really, the acting. So, if you ask me, the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte were really good. Like, I was high on the show after the first 2 episodes. Then we get episode 3 with that god awful flashback with the twin girls.
Mm-hmm.
Their acting was stiff and stale, and like a lot of the lines were delivered with no emotion. It felt like at times for the situation that you were meeting. And then you get, so after episode 3, you get 4 and 5. And then the one, I think it's episode 5, where they're starting to have the Jedi battle. It ends before the battle, right in the middle of the battle. Just, they light their lightsabers and start charging, end. And then you get another flashback episode. So it's like, as soon as everything got good, and I had the same complaint with X-Men 97. I loved X-Men 97, but when everything got good, they leave you on this cliffhanger. The next week, they give you a stupid filler episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they come back, so they make you wait 2 weeks for the good stuff. So I think if you would have incorporated, so I've said many times, I could tell you how to save the Acolyte. You do episode 1 and 2, 4 and 5, and then you have 6 and then you have 3 and 6. I think it's 3 and 6. I have to look at the episodes. Let me pull up the episode list on the Acolyte, so I don't want to be off.
Sure. I
want to be more accurate of what I'm saying, because I don't want people to go, "Oh, your episode count is off." And
did you even watch the show?
Yeah. All right, so it's 8 episodes. Okay, so yes, 1 and 2 were good. 3 was the flashback.
Yeah.
Then you have 4, 5, and 6. Then 7 was a flashback. And then 8.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took away episode 3 and episode 7, and you made a longer episode 8 and incorporated those flashbacks in episode 8, or even really 7, because 7 is when, you see a lot of Soul talking to May. And you could have had a lot of flashbacks there. You could have a lot of flashbacks in episode 8 when, the Sith Lord is trying to corrupt the other sister. You combine those 2 episodes and make that episode 8 longer, and have the flashback episodes intertwine with what's going on. That makes more sense, and it makes it a much better show. It's just those 2 flashback episodes were so poorly done and poorly placed that it kind of takes everybody out of the show. And I mean, it's not a terrible show, I don't think. Like, I think it's getting more hate than it should.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, the Star Wars fans are a passionate fan base. They know what they want. They know what they want to see. They've been scorned for so many years. Like, you're dealing with a fan base that has basically been spit and shat on since the original trilogy.
Yeah. Right.
Know?
Exactly.
So, because you have, regular Star Wars, which was episode 4 now, but you have Star Wars that came out in the 70s, and it was like this revolutionary movie. And then you have what people still consider today to be the perfect movie in The Empire Strikes Back. And then you stumbled a little bit about with Return of the Jedi, but it's still a good movie. Then you come around to Phantom Menace. And then you've got George tweaking everything and director's cuts and changing things. And then it just kind of, and then you get to, get through all that. And then you get rejuvenated by, The Force Awakens. But it's just a retelling.
Yeah.
With a new paint job.
Of A New Hope.
The original, right. Yeah. And then you get to the, Last Jedi. And the finger is so far from the pulse, might as well be up your ass at that point. And then you go back to JJ and Rise of Skywalker. And, it's like you lost the tone of who Luke Skywalker is really between The Last Jedi and, Rise of Skywalker. And then you get revitalized with the Mandalorian stuff. Cool. We're finally past the end of Empire. We're getting what we got away from the Skywalker stuff. Oh, well, now here comes Luke Skywalker. So we're right back there. You know, here comes Boba Fett. We're right back there. And
That's
then,
true.
you know, it just at some point it comes down to Star Wars passion. Star Wars fans are passionate people, man, and you can't blame the political climate or alt right this or far left that. It comes down to people have opinions, and people have the internet, and they're gonna go there to voice those opinions, no matter how shitty or great they are. And you blame who you want, but you can really point the finger at the people who had control. Me and you on the internet, we're just talking heads. We don't have control over anything.
Right.
We
But
have no say.
they claim we do, or not us in particular, but they claim YouTubers
Yeah,
have.
because we voice an opinion that you don't think people are voicing in other places. You don't think that you're going to hear the same opinion from someone on the street that you're hearing from some dude on the internet?
Yeah, at the water cooler or whatever.
So it just, at the end of the day, put blame where it belongs. Shitty writing, shitty directing, shitty editing, shitty acting.
Yeah.
Learn your
all across the board.
Take a page, and this is to all fandoms right now, okay? Take a page from Sonic the Hedgehog. Number one, listen to your fans. You don't always have to, because it's not always going to be right. But in the case of Sonic, it worked out pretty damn well for them. And they took a movie that was looking to be a dumpster fire and turned it into a $1 billion, thing.
Yeah.
So it's just, sometimes listen to what your fans want. You don't have to do verbatim, but listen to what some fans want. And I understand you can't do that all the time, because a lot of people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But at some point, Star Wars, a lot of Star Wars fans are passionate fans. You still have Star Wars fans that have been fans since the 70s out here. So the other thing I think you can look at it too is it's not your Star Wars anymore. They've made Star Wars for everyone and for a younger generation. So to hold on to the ideology that Star Wars is this one specific thing, it should be this one specific way, is kind of crazy now, because it's not your Star Wars. It's not just for you. It's a global thing. It's for everyone, and they're trying to make Star Wars for everyone, for new fans, old fans alike. But to say, oh, well, I blame little Johnny on the internet because he said that the acting in this show was piss poor, and
he voted for Trump, and
and they're Trump supporters, or they support this or that or the other thing. Look, again, I'll say it. Everything can't come back to being Republican, Democrat, voting for this, voting for that poor person, MAGA, far left, far right. It just breaks down to the simplest fact that look at the writers, look at the editing, look at the director, look at the acting. I can't blame the acting as much, because I've seen her in a lot of things, and she's good in a lot of the other stuff she's done. But it also comes down to directing, giving direction, how the director wants you. And if none of these people even have their finger anywhere near the pulse of Star Wars, to the point where they actually know a lick about whatever it is they're talking about, it's going to fail. And Star Wars fans are going to let you know it. They're a passionate fan base. They're going to let you know it. Just, could you imagine if every football star, baseball player, every professional athlete walked into an arena and they were like, they got booed, and then they're like, oh, well, it's because you're all far left or far right. That's why you're booing me. No, we're booing you because you're on the opposite team. You don't like it. You suck. Or, you're getting booed because you suck. It's like you watched the football this last weekend, and the Cleveland Browns got booed out of their own stadium because they suck. People are passionate, and they're going to let you know it. So either thicken up your skin and say, okay, I appreciate this passionate fan base. Let me know it. Let's see, what we can do, or just don't do it anymore. Yeah. But you open yourself up to more criticism and more BS when you go whining on the internet and blaming people for why your show didn't work, and you're not getting a season 2 when it's really the fault of the director, the writer. It comes back to the cast and everyone involved in the project.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think sooner or later you have to start reading the room,
Yeah,
and you're
a
going to
little
have
bit.
to, yeah, you're going to have to start making these movies for, and I guess I'm not saying you have to make it for fans, but you can't be making it for people you're going to hope like it.
Right.
Like I I am not a fan of people saying, "Oh, well, you don't like this? Well, it's not for you. It wasn't meant for you."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, really? So who was it meant for exactly? Tell
Right.
me. It's meant, was it meant for 17-year-old like girls or, whatever, adolescent? What happens in 10 years when people age out of that demographic?
Mm-hmm.
Is it not going to be for them at that point? It's just so dumb. It's like you tell a classic, well-written, timeless hero's tale, you know, uh, you think like, John Steinbeck or Charles Dickens, you just sit there and go, "Oh, well, I'm going to write for this particular hyper-focused demographic.
Right.
And if nobody else likes it, well, the hell with them. It's not meant for them." It's like, dude, what? You write stories because if you're talented enough and you've got what it takes, you would write a movie, a story, a book that transcends those demographics, that
Mm-hmm.
everyone likes, that people will grow into. And you don't have to worry about that BS when somebody sits there and goes, "Oh, well, that sucks. Oh, well, that's not meant for you."
And you're
It's like,
alienating half of
what?
a fan base. Like by making those comments that she made, she's alienating half a fan base
Yeah,
because
more than that.
she's deciding to paint a political picture about it rather than just being these people are passionate fans. They didn't like what we put out. Okay, we're not going to get a second chance. We just try harder at the next project we got. Star Wars is $1 billion franchise. Disney's not going to stop making Star Wars shit anytime soon. So it's like, oh, well, this was a miss. You go back to the drawing board and you give it your all in your next project. And, it happens. But I really don't like when these celebrities come out and they're like, oh, well, and I get it. It's their job. It's their craft. It's their art. They love it. They don't like to be criticized about it. They don't want to hear that they suck. Well, then get off the internet because you're going to be told you suck by a passionate fan base. And it's your job to take that, do with it as you will, and retool it and focus it into your next project. And
Yeah.
it's nothing personal. It's just a passionate fan base about a fictional galaxy and fictional characters that they grew up with and they feel like they have some sort of entitlement to. And that's the other thing on our aspect as fans is that we need to get over this entitlement, this feeling of entitlement that we're entitled to these characters or we own these characters. These characters can't deviate because it's how it was when we were kids. And,
Right.
These characters are going to change. They're going to evolve. All the stuff's going to change to reach a broader audience. They don't give a shit about you, Timmy, in your mom's basement, who is just collecting comic books. They want to reach a broader audience. So they're going to try to put out the best product that they feel is going to reach and appeal to a broader audience. So, you're just going to have to get over the fact that, oh, well, Craven doesn't do this or Venom doesn't do that, or he wouldn't do that. Like, there's certain things that I'll do that too. And I'm guilty of it too.
Oh,
Where I know this core character, and if it's something that goes so far away and so far removed from the core beliefs that this character stands on and has for years and is tone deaf, then yeah, I'm going to be like, this sucks. This isn't right. But it like Craven, like that character is so far removed from the Craven that you're getting in the comic books that do I think it's going to work? I don't know. Venom has found a way to work without Spider-Man in some aspects. In other aspects, it hasn't. But, it is what it is. But again, Star Wars, yeah, don't blame other people. Put blame where it belongs. Own it. Listen to what the fans are saying. Agree, disagree, whatever. Own it and channel it into your next project and don't alienate half of a fan base that's as passionate as Star Wars fans with the power of the internet who are going to tell you, and you're just going to get more fuel.
Yeah.
You think I'm an asshole now? Well, you just called me this, and this. Let's go. You know,
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you know.
So you draw those lines in the sand and it's going to piss people off.
Exactly. I mean, yes.
You know, I got to admit, you know, I didn't like The Acolyte. I went in there very much wanting to like it. And towards third, fourth, fifth episode, I'm like, oh, this is just, you know, I stuck through it, man. I stuck through it to the end. And, you know, after it ended, you know, a couple weeks later, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch this. Maybe I'll have a different opinion. And I couldn't even get through the second episode before I'm like, I can't do this again. But so am I a bigot? Am I, you know, a racist? Am I a chauvinist? Am I, because I didn't like this? You know, no. I'd like to think I'm not, you know, but like you said, it's, you know, you can check off all the boxes, you know, that this is why it sucked. Take some accountability. And, you know, and everybody says, oh, well, movies are so hard to make and movie makers deserve. It's like, you know what? Everybody's job is hard. Everybody, when they do a crap job at their 9 to 5, you're going to get called out on it, you know, but difference is I don't have those millions and millions to dry my tears on, you know?
Right. You're not running back to your mansion or whatever. But here's the other thing. Okay. Predictability. Okay. Predictability ruined The Acolyte for me. When I can sit here and go, okay, they're on this planet. There's only so many people on this planet. And all of a sudden, May leaves that dude hung up. And then next thing you know, the Sith appears in this mask. Who could it be? It's obvious who it is. And I called 3 episodes in advance. I called, oh, May is going to flip and she's going to go with the Jedi. And I can't remember the other girl's name. But regardless, the other girl's going to go and be trained by the Sith. You know, May's going to join the Jedi. The other girl's going to flip and go be with the Sith. Osha. She's going to go be the Sith. I called that way in advance. And I told our buddy Lance, I said, listen, it ended with the Jedi lighting their lightsabers and they're going to go and fight that dude. I go, he's going to wipe the floor with all of them. Because when there's less people connected to that side of the Force, the stronger that Force is. So I was like, he's going to wipe the floor with all of them. I called it. I was like, this dude's going to be a brick shit house. Because of how scared she was. And she's out here killing Jedi without lightsabers. And she's scared of this dude and all that. Like, and he took out the one Wookiee Jedi without breaking a sweat. It's like, he's going to be a brick shit house. And this is predictable. It's all so predictable.
Yeah.
And I hate predictability. Like, when I'm sitting in a movie, I love being immersed in movies.
Right.
And when I can sit there and go, this is what's going to happen. This is going to happen. And I figure out the plot 30 minutes into the movie and what's going to happen. It's like, okay. Yeah. Thanks. But, I don't know. Moving on.
Yeah. Moving on. So the last thing I have of that, one more thing about the Acolyte is, so you have that one side, you have a Madeleine Stenberg blaming the fans. And I saw this article in Forbes today that says, the headline reads, "The Acolyte fan petition shows just how right Disney was to cancel the Star Wars flop after all." And this Forbes article basically just says that so far, fans of The Acolyte have started this petition to renew season 2. And it's got 72,000 signatures on it. And Forbes is basically saying there's been a lot of other change.org petitions started for much lesser known shows with like double or triple that amount of signatures on a petition. So, when it comes down to it, it's ratings.
That's
Where
kind of
are all
like
the fans?
that's kind of like the nerd cycle of grieving, isn't it? We love show gets canceled, change.org petition that goes nowhere, and new show comes out, rinse and repeat. By this time, you would think that you would know that change.org petitions don't mean diddly dick, because it at the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents. And if Disney was not profitable off of the Acolyte, and they're not making Acolyte action figures, and none of the merch is selling, and nobody really cares, it's dollars and dimes, man. And at the end of the day, if it's not profitable, Disney's not going to sit on it. And the Acolyte, whether you liked it or not, you can start your change. That's the great thing about living in this country, is you can start your little change.org petition, but nobody has to listen to it. It falls on deaf ears. So
right.
At the end of the day, you can pat yourself on the back that you did your due diligence to try to save your fandom and save you the thing you love. But it's going to go nowhere. And I've learned that early on being in this community, is that, be passionate, be outraged, let your voice be heard. That's awesome. But don't think a change.org petition is going to do anything. You got a better chance sitting down like we are, turning on your camera and filming a passionate, well thought out, well researched video on why this project should or shouldn't be brought back, and release it to the masses and build your community that way, to where it gets a following, to where somebody from the studio or cast might potentially, network it. It's all networking. And I think you got a better chance of getting something saved than filling out a stupid change.org petition.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, like you were saying, you can sit there and shout from the rooftops, but doesn't mean anybody has to listen.
Right.
That's a whole different story. But yeah, man, that's what I got for the news. There's a couple of things, the new Black Canary series coming out. Apparently there's a Kilnaka, the Wookiee Jedi one shot coming out.
That came out last week.
Did it?
Yeah, it came out last Wednesday.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even see that.
It came out on the 4th.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how, if that flopped, I don't know how they expect to sell that, clunker, but.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that these people could become comic book readers, and they could potentially get a season 2 in print. Doesn't necessarily mean, just because they're saying they're not going to do it on Disney Plus or the big screen, doesn't mean you won't get it in print. So,
yeah.
Yeah. How up are do you dabble in graded comic books?
No.
So you're not up on all this CGC Bendgate and
no. Tell me about this. I'm not up at all.
So CGC, is a comic book grading company, and it's the one that everybody seems to go to that sets the market. And you have CGC, CBCS, PGX, PSA is getting into it. You have a handful of grading companies out there. Well, when they encapsulate your book and grade it, they put it inside this like plastic sleeve. Well, recently people have been getting their books back, and they're noticing that inside that plastic sleeve is bending. And so it's taking your 9/8 book, your pristine book, and putting a bend in the spine.
Jeez.
And CGC, people were getting pissed about it. And CGC came out yesterday or today, I want to say it was yesterday, and said, oh, well, don't worry about it. That spine, that bend is not damaging your book in any way, shape, or form. And it does not do anything to deteriorate the grade of the book. But literally, like, your book is bending. It's bending. It's literally like, compromising the structure of the spine of the book. But it doesn't change the grade. So there's a whole lot of tomfoolery going on as far as comic book grading goes.
So do you still do that? Do you still send books in?
I have started. That's the other thing. There's a big push too in this community of buying graded comic books are dead because it defeats the purpose of collecting comics because then you can't read them. But then again, at the end of the day, like it preserves books that are suit from the 50s and 60s that otherwise would probably be destroyed. I do. I have started buying them already graded, just so that all the legwork's out of it for me.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm buying. But I'll send a book in. It depends on the book. And like I just sent ASM 50 in because it's the first Kingpin to be graded, just because of the significance of the book and how old it is and
Sure.
some other things like that. But I buy my stuff pre-graded now. I don't. If I'm gonna get something graded, I'd rather buy it pre-graded versus going through the process of sending it off and letting somebody else finger fuck my book and potentially ruin it. And so, be it the grader, the post office, what have you.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That would just give me too much anxiety,
Yeah.
These high dollar books, just sending them out there, but people still grade like new books, like, variant cover, like rare variant cover type stuff, I assume. And
yeah, I mean, the grading market is still there. It's just, I don't understand why one grader gets dominance over another and how CGC is so much better than CBCS when it's all based off someone's perspective. So it's subjective because you're not grading on a specific scale. It's all what you determine. So
yeah. Well, hey dude, let's talk. Speaking of new comics, what are you reading?
Last week was a big week. A lot of books came out. I really enjoyed Venom War Spider-Man #2. I'm really enjoying seeing that relationship between Venom and Spider-Man again, and kind of seeing where that's taking place in Venom War. Ultimates #4. I talked about it last week. It was being touted by the writer as, if you want to know why how potentially Robert Downey Jr. being Doom is going to affect the MCU, then you'll want to read this book. Well, that I feel like was a lot of self-promotion to try and drive sales to the book, because even though it was a good story, it's I don't know how it's a stretch to say that book is going to correlate to how they might bring Tony Stark into or not Tony Stark, but bring Victor Von Doom into the MCU. There's a lot of top 10 lists out there. Like the 1 in 25 was going for like $30-$40. It had 30 plus sales on it, so it was moving good. But there's a lot of people out there that are doing top 10 lists that are giving you false information. Like I heard one where the guy was like, "Oh, it's finally revealed that the maker is Doctor Strange. That the maker was Doctor Doom this entire time." No, it's not. The maker's the ultimate version of Reed Richards, who manipulates and turns the Reed Richards of Earth 6160 into Doom, and is holding him captive and is manipulating him. That's pretty much what this is. And he's trying to figure out, because if you remember the origin of Doom, they go up into space and his calculations were off, and so the get hit with the radiation, and he blames Reed Richards for changing his equations. And that's kind of what happens here, is that the maker, who is messing with his universe, purposely ever so slightly changes Reed's calculations and delays their launch just a little bit to where a different outcome happens, and you get the Fantastic Four die, and Reed blames himself, and he becomes Doom. And his whole thing is he's joining this new Ultimates team, but he's trying to figure out and testing on lab mice a way to bring back the Fantastic Four, because he feels like the Fantastic Four are the only way to save this universe. So that's what he's trying to do. It's a great story, great art. It was a great issue, but it was a little misleading as far as what it was pitched as. But still, I enjoyed it, and it was a good read. What about you?
Well, I want to talk really quick. Do you read Daredevil?
No, I don't.
So it's been really good. The last few writers, Chip Zdarsky and I believe Charles Soule had it before him. I'm not 100% positive, but Chip Zdarsky had it for a while.
And it's Saladin Ahmad now, right?
Yes, yes. Picked it up, and I stuck with it. And in the artist, Chris Campagna, and it just has not been good, dude. We had like, long story short, Kingpin was possessed by demons, and they were exorcised out of him, and Kingpin came groveling to Matt Murdock, being a priest and all, and wanting absolution, and like on his knees and crying, and and I'm like, dude, we got like sissy Kingpin in TV shows. It's like, I don't want to see him in the comic books. And then what does Matt Murdock do when Kingpin comes on his knees crying and asking him for forgiveness? But he runs away. And so, not only was the story just, I mean, dude, you know what? I'm not going to mince words. It was pretty crap. And the art's not that great either. And
Yeah,
I
see
just
a lot of people complaining about Saladin's run right now on Daredevil, and like feeling like it's unnatural and odd, and like he doesn't really have a grasp on the character.
No, he does not. And it's just, compared to, what he followed, it's a tough act to follow, man, but it's just been pretty subpar for me. But on another note, another book I want to talk to you about is, I know you like it too, is Grommets.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick up the latest Grommets? What is it, 4?
That came out 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have, yes.
Yeah. I kind of, I've been liking this book. And to be honest with you, I can't really tell you why. I don't know if it's nostalgia. I don't know if it's hits a little close to home.
Yeah, it's like your childhood. It's that like 80s, punk skate culture. It's it's what it is. It reminds you of being a kid, probably growing up skating, or if you didn't skate, and being into music, and everybody has parents and goes through the same situations these kids are going through most of the time, or someone who has. So I think it all relatively connects close to home.
Yeah. I mean, and I wonder, it's like, do people that didn't grow up in this orbit, would they get this? Like, would they like it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that my childhood was a lot like this. Like, if I would have been in the in school with these dudes, I would have been their friend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, being of a certain age, growing up in a certain generation in suburbs, and it's just something that really hits its home, and it's just fun, man. And the art just lends itself so well to the tone of the story. And it's funny, it's interesting, it's it's just fun to follow these characters, and that's not an easy feat considering you're writing about suburban kids with no stakes, really. But yeah, man, it's like one of my favorite books right now. So yeah, Rick Remender, Brian Posehn, Brett Parson, Moreno Dinicio.
Got a killer writing team on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and it's keeps you on your toes. Oddly enough.
Definitely. What's
So
coming out next week that you're looking
yeah,
forward to?
that's what I was gonna ask you. So what's next week? The
18th.
18th. World's Finest, number 31. Be picking that up. Superman, number 18. Ultimate X-Men, hard pass. Dude,
Yeah, it's been a rough go.
there's
Ultimate X-Men.
enough X titles, dude. There's enough X titles set in this universe. I
Well, the
don't need
Ultimate is
another one.
separate. Ultimate's
Yeah,
separate, but it is a tough. It's a tough go right now for Ultimates. I'll agree.
it's like I can barely keep up with this Earth's X titles. I don't need to, be going down a rabbit hole of somebody else. X-Men number 4, yeah, I'll be there. Wonder Woman number 13, yeah, I think so. Tom King's writing Wonder Woman now, so Avengers number 18, Incredible Hulk. I don't know, man.
Are you gonna pick up Batman Long Halloween, the last Halloween issue 0?
I don't know. Is that for Batman Day?
No, so they're kind of doing this like part 3 of the Long Halloween trilogy. So it's like called Batman the Long Halloween, the last Halloween. It's like the final piece of it.
Wow. And it's written by Jeff Loeb and drawn by Tim Sale?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, probably. Yeah. So X Factor number 2. I know we both like that a lot. So I know you pick up the Transformers books, right?
Yep.
Do you pick up G.I. Joe?
No, I was, and then I kind of bailed on it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was more of a kind of a budget decision, and I want to get what I want to read, and G.I. Joe just wasn't didn't make the cut, sadly.
Dude, I feel the same way about Transformers. I did the same thing with Transformers. But the G.I. Joe books that I've been really liking, I've been liking Scarlet and Destro, and I like the Cobra Commander series. But Destro number 4 comes out next week. Dark Knights of Steel all winter. Dude, those Dark Knights of Steel books have been pretty good, but I don't know, man. Things can turn on a dime. What about you?
Next week, really, there's not a whole lot coming out. I'm definitely going to check out Batman the Long Halloween, the last Halloween. Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood. I'm kind of interested for Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. I'm like, what?
I'm definitely out on Ultimate X-Men, but I'm gonna probably pick up. I'm definitely gonna pick up X Factor issue 2, X-Men issue 4.
Yeah.
I'll probably definitely get Transformers. I'm kind of falling out on Ice Cream Man. I know it's kind of popping again because the announcement that it's gonna be made into a movie.
Really?
Powerpuff Girls, love Powerpuff Girls. If you're a fan of the original TV show on Cartoon Network, I would definitely recommend checking out Powerpuff Girls because it reads just like an episode of the TV show.
Oh, that's fun.
Probably gonna check out the new wrestling book from Dark Horse, The Masked. I can't remember what it's called. The Masked Matcher or something like that from Dark Horse. I'm gonna check that out just because I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I'll definitely check out anything. If I could make a recommendation for anybody that's listening, the 18th, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, the trade paperback comes out. Pick it up, read it. It's a great story. If you like those murder mystery stories, or horror stuff, it's definitely worth checking out. So it's pick that up. Mutant Nation, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, Mutant Nation. Gonna definitely get that for sure. And I think that's it.
Another really cool Dark Horse title that comes out issue number 3 is Kill All Immortals. I got the first 2, and it was pretty fun. You know, I know I've talked to you about this before, but it's just about immortal Vikings that are kind of like Illuminati in this day and age. They've survived, you know, all these years, and they've kind of embedded themselves in world society as like an Illuminati type situation group. And so, yeah. And then one of their family members betrays them and they're after them. And, but it's cool, man. And you know, it's like, there's just something about when a comic hits right, you know, it's got the, you know, the right amount of, the pacing is just right. The art works for the kind of story they're telling. There's not a whole lot of exposition. And, you know, like Kevin Smith once said, the perfect comic is the comic that you can read in, you know, when you're taking a shit. You can read it from beginning to end while you're taking a shit. And that's the perfect length of a comic. Yeah. And that's Kill All Immortals, man. It's just, it's fun. It's violent. It's exciting. It's, you know, it's, I don't want to say like dumb or mindless, but it's just fun, dude. It's a cool story. Yeah.
But
hits all cylinders.
But I think that's it. You got anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
I think that'll close the pages on this week's Case Files for another episode of Comic Book Confidential. Let us know in the comments section below what you're reading. If you're reading books that you think we should be checking out that we're not talking about, let us know. If you have recommendations about anything you want us to talk about, or anything deep dives you want to see on the show, let us know. If you have a good time watching this, make sure to like the subscribe button. And so yeah, another case closed on another episode of Comic Book Confidential. For Jay, I am Matt, and we'll see you guys at your local comic book shop.